Power is not born from crowns, it is born from fear. It was Machiavelli who first understood this truth with surgical precision. Man only moves between terror and desire. And perhaps that is why, when the phone rang that morning, I felt something much greater than simple scientific curiosity. It was fear, a lucid, cold, almost sacred fear. On the other end of the line, the trembling voice of an old astrophysicist friend, someone accustomed to dialoguing with the infinite, whispered, "There is something moving between us, and we cannot stop it." It wasn't a scientist speaking. It was a man who had just looked into the abyss and realized that the abyss was looking back. During the flight to Chile, his words echoed in my mind like an omen. What could frighten someone who had dedicated his life to studying dying stars billions of years ago? I thought of Machiavelli, of his conviction that true power arises when one recognizes the limits of one's own understanding. Perhaps we were about to cross one of those limits, and from this crossing there would be no return. The South American sky shimmered beyond the window, and each point of light seemed a silent witness to what was to come. Fear and expectation walked side by side within me like two generals preparing for war. In the observatory, the air smelled of dust and electricity. My friend greeted me silently, his face pale and his hands trembling. On his screen, graphs and waves pulsed, seemingly alive. They were signals from deep space, but there was something about them that defied all logic. Rhythmic patterns, pulses that repeated themselves as if forming a language. He explained that the same energy peaks had been recorded simultaneously in different parts of the world: Chile, Hawaii, South Africa, Australia. Synchronized signals, as if someone, somewhere in the cosmos, were knocking on Earth's door. I tried to find rational explanations, but the more I looked at that data, the more I felt the presence of something intentional, a hidden intelligence, perhaps a force that, for millennia, remained beyond human reach. The universe has always been merciless, I thought. It seeks neither meaning nor redemption, no lead balance. And now, it seemed to be calling us back to its brutal reality. "These waves are not natural," he said. "They are accelerating. The pace is increasing." "And what does that mean?" I asked. He took a deep breath, as if carefully choosing his final words before a sentence. "It means something is coming, and we have no power to stop it." That phrase hit me like a ton of bricks. Something was coming. The word something echoed with an unbearable ambiguity. A phenomenon, a force, a consciousness. I remembered Machiavelli again. Men judge more by their eyes than by their reason. And I wondered, what happens when the eyes can no longer comprehend what they see? When reason ceases to be a refuge and becomes a trap? As I watched the waves multiplying on the screen, I realized it wasn't just an astronomical event. It was political. It was human. The cosmos was acting like the ideal Machiavellian ruler, unpredictable, strategic, indifferent to morality. It didn't negotiate. It simply imposed its will, and we, small cosmic subjects, were forced to obey. I thought about how many times in history fear had shaped empires, toppled kingdoms, controlled peoples. Now, that same fear was beginning to shape something even greater: planetary consciousness, a new kind of invisible power. The universe seemed to be testing our species, as if saying, "You have learned to dominate the earth, but you have not yet learned to govern yourselves." My friend stepped away from the screen and looked at me with an expression that mixed wariness and surrender. I spent my life believing that understanding the cosmos was a matter of calculation, but now I realize it's a matter of consciousness. The universe is responding, and perhaps the question is us. I left the observatory before dawn. The Atacama Desert was an ocean of silence. Above me, the sky stretched like a broken mirror reflecting 1,000 possibilities. For a moment, I felt the line between observer and observed dissolve, and I understood that all power, cosmic or human, begins with the same gesture: observing without being noticed. As the sun rose and bathed the mountains in a blood-red and golden hue, I realized the cruel irony. We've spent centuries trying to understand the universe, but perhaps it's the universe that's studying us now. And a question that Machiavelli would leave me with, if he were there beside me, echoed in my mind like a sentence. If power is the art of predicting the inevitable, what remains for man when the inevitable is the universe itself? That's when I understood. This wasn't just the beginning of an investigation. It was the prelude to a struggle for dominance between reason and mystery, between humanity and the infinite. Something was coming, and perhaps, for the first time in history, we wouldn't be the rulers, but the ruled. Machiavelli said that power is rarely conquered by force, but by information, by controlling what others don't know. This phrase echoed in my mind when I received the email. No sender, just a line of text. We know what you're investigating. We need to talk. Don't use the phone. Below, a set of coordinates and a date. Nothing more. I looked at the screen and felt something that wasn't just curiosity, was the same kind of unease that precedes a moment when destiny changes direction. I spent the night wondering if I should go. Logic said no. Instinct said yes. When fear and reason clash, that's when true character emerges, Machiavelli would say. So, a few hours later, I was on the road to the coordinates, carrying only a camera, a notebook, and the feeling that something was watching me. The place was an old, abandoned mill, surrounded by twisted trees and the distant sound of water running in a nearly dry stream. I waited, and for a while I thought it was all just a cruel joke, until I heard footsteps behind me. The man who appeared was about 60 years old, simply dressed, with the look of someone carrying secrets that weigh more than his own conscience. My name doesn't matter, he said, but what I'm about to tell you will change everything you think about the world. We sat on damp stones, and for 3 hours he spoke without stopping. He recounted how he had worked for decades on secret government projects dedicated to monitoring what they called dimensional incursions. He explained that there are places on Earth where reality seems to weaken points, where time bends, objects disappear, and people report losing minutes or entire days with no recollection of what happened. These events are increasing, he said, and the pattern is clear. Something is approaching. At that moment, I felt the air change. The sound of the wind seemed to vibrate at a different frequency, as if nature itself were paying attention to the conversation. He opened a worn leather briefcase and showed me documents with official stamps, charts, blurry photos of lights emerging from nowhere. They know, but they won't tell, he stated firmly. Not to avoid panic, but to maintain control. Fear is the most efficient tool of government that man has ever created. These words struck me with the force of a bitter revelation. It wasn't just a scientific secret, it was a political maneuver. The unknown had become an instrument of power. Machiavelli would have understood perfectly. Keeping the people in the dark ensures they fear what they don't understand. And when fear is constant, control is absolute. I thought about how this repeats itself at all levels of life. In companies, leaders hide information to preserve authority. In relationships, people manipulate truths to maintain a sense of superiority. In politics, secrecy is